Okay, in this screencast we'll look at how we can take movement captured with the Organic Motion Capture Suite and apply it to the 3D models that you've built using the Autodesk character generator. To do that, and we could launch Motionbuilder and then load things one at a time, but it's generally easiest if we start with the motion file, which should be saved as an FBX format. We double click to launch that. It should launch Motionbuilder and load up these characters. The movement which is coming in from the Organic Motion Suite is actually generated onto a skeleton. So Organic Motion has created a skeleton for you. Now, if you wanted to use this to drive a 3D character, normally you would have to build a character with exactly the same number of joints, with exactly the same number of bones, and if I hit Control W, I can switch to Node View. I can see the name of each and every one of these bones. So we've got hip 0, left pelvis, left upper leg, etc., etc. Motionbuilder has a tool to allow you to create a character out of this skeleton and then use that character to drive another model which has a character attached to it. In order to do that, we come down here to our resources, to our asset browser. If templates isn't open, click on templates to open it up, then click here on characters, and you'll see there's a character icon. If I had this if I had the skeleton selected, I wouldn't be able to drag directly onto this and characterize it. So if your skeleton is green, left click anywhere in the window to get rid of that, to get rid of the selection. Then come down here to character, click and drag with the left mouse button and drop the character on the skeleton. And you should get a little menu pop up which says characterize. If you left click on that, it will ask you, or say that the character has to be in a stance pose, and you should get this little box asking if you want it to be a biped, a quadruped, dog, horse, etc., or cancel. If we hit on biped, we've now added a character. If, however, you try to do this when your skeleton isn't sitting in a T-pose, it won't work. So I can't characterize this at this point. All of the files which are coming out of the Organic Motion system have an extra T-pose attached at the very beginning of the motion capture. So if you move back here to frame number -5, you'll see there's a T-pose. If for some reason you're not able to scroll all the way back to -5, you can always click here, double click, type in -5, and it will jump you back. Or you can set the start of your motion capture sequence to -5 here. Right, so I've created my character. I know I've created the character because if I look down here, you see I've got a character on this file. Just to make life a little bit easier, I'm going to rename it. So I'll call it character -0, or _0. I've called it that because, again, Control W switches back to the node view, and I can see that this character has a 0 after everything, so I know this was the first and only person captured in this particular take. So again, Control W to go back. Now I've got a characterized skeleton, so I can use this to drive one of the 3D models that I generated. In order to do that, we'll go to File. We need to merge the model into the scene. So again, don't hit open, because if I hit open, it will delete the skeleton and just bring in the model that I'm trying to load. So I need to merge the model in. So I click on merge, and then I select the model that I want to load. Let's say Papa Bear. Hit open. And then this is an important point. I could just hit merge right now and it would come in and everything would work fine. However, if I want to use this model with a couple of other models, the fact that they've all been generated by Autodesk Character Generator can cause some conflicts. So you can have multiple models which actually have the same name. You won't know what's going on, you just see characters disappearing or merging into each other. So it's always a very good idea to give it a different name. So if we come down here to apply namespace, use new namespace, and I'll just type Papa. And then I click merge. So it's brought in Papa Bear. can see I've got a character here named Papa Character. So because I've put a character on my skeleton data coming from the organic motion system, I can use that to drive this Papa character. That's very, very simple to do. All we have to do is come up here to the character controls, select Papa character, and the source for his movement, let's see here, we've got, can change it from stance to character, and then his input source should be character 0. Now if all went well, I should just click mouse button, he should start dancing, but he's not. The reason he's not dancing is because I unknowingly brought in a motion file together with this character. So if we look down here, you see I've got a motion file called take 0, well, take 001. There's no actual motion in it. All it's doing right now is confusing things. So if I left click here, I can change to the original motion file which I brought in called Harry Dancing. And then I should be able to have this motion driving this character, but again it's not working because there's one last bit that I have to click on here. If you look down here next to the character, there's a little icon, there's a little checkbox called active. So if I click on active, now Harry's skeleton data is driving the character that I've created. So if I hit play, you can see him dancing around. Again, if I hit rewind, it'll play to the end and rewind. Okay. Obviously this is rather difficult to see because when we bring these characters in from the character generator, it attaches a spotlight to them. So if I go down here to my lights in the navigator and right click on Papa 1 spotlight and hit delete, I can get rid of that spotlight and we go back to the ambient or overall lighting. So now we can see that Papa Bear is being driven by Harry's wonderful dancing movement. That's great. But if I want to animate him, if I want to animate this character any further, if I want to do anything else with it, I will want to use the inverse kinematics or the forward kinematics tools. Though it's only possible if I put a character rig on this. In order to put a character rig on it, again, I should go back to the T-pose, -5, or I could just drag all the way back here. And here under my character controls, if I go to this blue icon, left click down here and go to create control rig. Again, I can put a forward kinematic and inverse kinematic control rig on this model. And if I go to display, go to X-ray, you can see I've now got Harry's original skeleton data. I've got a control rig driving Papa Bear. And if I hit play now, you'll see that Harry's going to dance over here and Papa Bear's standing still. The reason for that is because when I created the control rig, I've switched my Papa Bear model to being driven by the control rig. You'll see it says control rig up here, and it says control rig down here. If I just switch that back to character, he's now following the original skeleton data. Right, so why on earth did I put a control rig on him? The idea behind the control rig is to allow you to animate on top of the underlying data. But first, before we can do that, I need to take this motion and plot it onto Papa Bear's control rig. So if we come down here to plot character, and we want to bake the animation from the input character, I can choose either the skeleton or the control rig. If I didn't want to do any more animation, any cleanup, or anything changes at all, I can bake it directly onto Papa Bear's skeleton. But actually I want to be able to do some adjustment afterwards, so I'm going to bake this onto the control rig. 25 frames per second, that's fine. This is all, should be okay. Just hit plot. And you'll see that now when I have Papa Bear running from the control rig, he's dancing with the original motion capture data. So I've now taken all that motion capture data and I've moved it onto the control rig, which means that I don't need the original skeleton to begin with. So again, in order to get into my node view, I click in the perspective window, hold down Control, hit W, and switch back to the node view. If I hold down the Shift key and hit the left mouse button, I can move around inside this window. If I hold down the Control key and hit the left mouse button, you can zoom in and out. If you remember, hips 0 was the original motion capture file that I brought in to start with. So I don't need that file anymore. I can select, click and drag around all these nodes and select them all at once, and then just move my mouse over one of them and right click and go to delete, which allows me to delete the selected items. I want to delete the character I created as well, so delete that and say yes, I need to delete everything, yes to all. Now if I hold down Control and hit W, I can toggle back and hit play, and you see we've got Papa Bear dancing away without having to be driven by anything. Well, actually, he's being driven by his control rig. I can switch display to models only and see him as he is. Now you notice, because Papa Bear is a bit bigger than Harry was originally, his arms are moving back and forth through his chest. So because I've put all this motion onto his control rig, I can now animate on top of that. So I can go back to the beginning of the dance, somewhere around here. I can come down to my base animation. I can add a layer, lock the underlying motion capture data, select what I want to change on this. I'm going to move his shoulder, and if we remember how to go through and animate onto something, add a keyframe, animate something else, rotate, add another keyframe. I'll go back over this later in a later screencast, but as you can see now, I can move his arms around and animate him, but keep a lot of this underlying motion data. Right. So again, the key steps are to start with your motion data. Make sure you characterize the skeleton from organic motion. Use that character to drive the Autodesk auto-generated model. And then create a rig on your model, plot all of the motion to that rig, and then get rid of the original skeleton.